when other people bring more resources to the coalition? Why is it that he's seen misappropriating the funds? This is something that he needs to be addressed. He's not a man of his words. He can't be trusted. In fact, all of them, they can't be trusted. Both of them, the party leader and that chairman of the campaigns, Junet. Because why would I be defending someone who I know made me lose an election?
Yes. Asiko, do you know why? I'm gonna tell you why Raila Amolo Odinga may want to defend him, and maybe this is something that maybe all of us may want to weigh in, because there's already a split within that particular coalition. There are those who feel that it should be disciplined. There are those who feel that that talk about disciplining Junet Mohammed is total nonsense. Case in point, former Mombasa governor and the ODM deputy party leader Hassan Joho is speaking already. He's saying, well, why would you want to discipline Junet Mohammed? You already see Raila Amolo Odinga is really in that particular split within the party. So if you're already reading a split within the party, even from your deputy party leader, isn't it time for you to come out and speak? And if you're going to speak, in what way are you going to speak, Asiko? Are you not going to defend him? At least for now, as you try and quell the heat that is within the collusion.
The reason as to why Junet, Ali Hassan Joho, the former Mombasa governor, is defending Junet is because they were together. They were counterparts. They are both the same culprits. They were together. Yes.
Allegedly? Is it allegedly or that's a fact?
Yes. No, it's not alleged. They are allies. They were seen together. They were even wearing the same outfits. They will go everywhere together during the campaigns. So this is something they did together. Actually, they were even microing Odinga. So that
the deputy party leader, it is Junet Mohammed. I mean, if those guys are already introducing a split within your party, you as the party leader, knowing very well that those guys have got immense power within the party. So if they're walking out, you do not imagine that it's not only them who are going to walk out. They might walk out with so many people as well. But just before you wait in, about Kennedy, is that what it is? I mean, if you are Raila Amolo Odinga, your deputy party leader is already very vocal about this, is saying this issue of other party members saying they want to discipline Junet Mohammed is total nonsense. It should stop. Junet Mohammed has not spoken, but you do know he doesn't want to be stopped. But he wants to leave. You're not going to defend him. And if these two walk out, you don't imagine that they're going to walk out by themselves. They might walk out with other people as well. What are you going to do if you're Raila Amolo Odinga?
Now, first of all, I would like to correct this narrative that we always peddle around as Kenyans. That so-and-so is a good man, but the people around him. As a good man, the moment you intentionally choose to surround yourself with bad people, in quotes, you cease holding that title of a good man. Because you are an adult, you have a right to choose your company. So the people you choose define who you are. That's your character.
Yes.
The issue you are talking about speaks to the rot in our politics. And we talk about politics is a game of interests. Those interests, unfortunately, in most of our political parties, Kenyans are not on any list of the interests of those political parties. You ask, they will walk away. I want to ask you a very simple question. If, let's say, Junet Mohammed or Hassan Joho was to walk out of ODM, how many people will they walk out with?
Is that not the question that Raila Amolo Odinga seemingly knows?
Now, that's why I asked that question. Because I already mentioned it's not about the people. There are other interests that they have. So what is happening is about trying to protect those interests. These people are all tied. At some point, they are tied at some hip. I don't know what hip it is, but they are tied at some point. The three of them. So, to the extent that it's usually said you cannot pull down a house in which you are domiciled. That is the case here. Because when we have shared secrets, then it becomes it's your responsibility to keep me as quiet as possible. Because if I was to choose to speak, at that point, it may not matter if I'm incriminating myself, but we'll pull the whole house down. So what is basically happening is that we have, our politics is organized around selfish interests. So everyone, including the Right Honorable, has a responsibility to protect his personal interests with his allies. Because as a person, I have from the history of Kenya, most of these people are known. Historically, their political tricks and all that stuff. So when you choose to give them a responsibility as critical as that one, then it means there's a reason why you're doing that. My brother has talked about taking responsibility. Nobody in Kenya takes political responsibility. I'd rather die than resign. That is the rule in Kenyan politics. So I'm not expecting any apology
from UNET Mohammed
or anyone.
Yes.
What I know, and this is a fact, is that that house, it's a closed house. They will lock themselves in a room and they will find ways of sorting out things. But another thing you need to understand is that I talked about stomachs and egos. Politics in Kenya is an enterprise of its own. People come to the table. They invest for purposes of profiteering. There are those who invest ideas, they will reap. There are those who bring money, they will get returns. There are those who mobilize, they will get. So when you realize that that table no longer has sufficient returns on your investment,
does it?
You can take, you can hibernate.
Walk out, the
vocal. Yes. Sometimes you realize that some of this being vocal is part of brand building.
Does it?
For bargaining purposes, so that you position yourself. She has mentioned that we have people, if you want to see so and so, you have to go through so and so.
Yes.
So when you realize that so and so no longer holds the returns, the cards that other people will need through me, there's no need for me to serve that purpose.
Here's the thing that I want to look at next, because I want to ask you this question, I mean, it is not just UNET Mohammed walking out. You're losing your minority whip in the National House, and if Joho is in support and also decides to walk out, you're also losing your deputy party leader in ODM. But Raila Amolo Odinga has been reading all these media reports that we've been doing about these cracks that are existing within the Azimio coalition, and he's saying, guys, you guys in the media, I mean, what are you doing? There are completely no cracks. As far as Raila Amolo Odinga is concerned, Azimio coalition is still intact as it has ever been. Let's take a look at this one. Once we come back, we'll be answering that question. Raila Amolo Odinga knows. Junet walks out and Joho walks out, it's going to be a purge, because I have to walk out with a couple of their friends as well. Let's take a look at this. Once we come back, weigh in on that.
Speaking in Lamu, the former Prime Minister maintained that the Blue Coalition is still intact, dismissing claims that there are cracks within Azimio as reported.
To dispel any rumor that's being spread by irresponsible media that there is no danger in Azimio collapsing anytime soon. I really want our media to be responsible. We don't want media to spread unnecessary and irresponsible propaganda. Nobody has left Azimio. Azimio has remained intact, except a few members of parliament who decided to take a walk. But the leadership of Azimio is intact. There is no dissension. There is no disagreement anywhere in Azimio. And that's why we actually are taken aback to see a banner headline in a very...
Odinga faulted a local daily for reporting on the matter, saying it is misguided and that the report is a plot by his political enemies to see distrust among members of the coalition.
Media in the country, we want to say this is irresponsible journalism that must be discarded. We don't want the media to try to spread despondency among the members of Azimio. We have stood very firm. Azimio is on a course of liberation of this country.
The opposition leader called on members of the large Azimio coalition to stay put and that the party is on a mission to give the nation a direction.
We have stood very firm. Azimio is on a course of liberation of this country. Azimio, there may be sometimes disagreement of opinion on one issue or the other, but that itself does not mean in any way disintegration. So I want to inform all our members, wherever they are, across the country, Azimio iko imara. Azimio is remaining united, and Azimio will not break up anytime soon. We are on a course to liberate this country from the tyranny and the responsibility. Second,
this comes as the party wrote to its constituent parties, calling them for a meeting to discuss the way forward for the party.
All right. Let's then weigh in on that. If you listen to Raila Amolo Odinga, he's saying, well, I don't understand these media reports saying that Azimio is going to collapse. That's quite responsible. But I would like to pick from where I left it before I went on that particular break to listen in on that. Raila Amolo Odinga knows if indeed that disciplinary action is taken on Junet Mohammed, and he decides to say, well, I don't need to be here, or Joho comes in and says, well, I don't support it, so I don't gotta be here, he knows very well that they will not be the only ones who walk out, that there might be a purge out of ODM now as it currently is. I mean, if you are in that position, Mudiora, and you're gaining ground for the 2027 elections, you're saying, well, we are mounting our forces together for the 2027 run-in, you would not want that to happen now, would you?
Well, I would do things differently. I would acknowledge that I had an election to lose, and I lost it. And there are people that cost me in that election. I would take appropriate action. I would begin by having them take responsibility for the failure. Most times we think it's Raila that failed, but the truth is Kenyans' aspirations were in the Azimio dream.
Yes.
So it's Kenyans' aspirations that were quashed when he did not rise to the presidency. So most times we miss it. We say Raila lost the election, but then it's all those millions that believed he could make a better president than what we have now. So knowing that, we should then address ourselves to how politics should be run. Politics should be issue-based. It should not be about individuals. So when a party leader wants to defend individuals in the formation over interests, then he clearly has missed it. Because individuals will come and go. And yes, there may be what they are bringing to the formation.
And that's what you need, isn't it? As a party leader, you do know that you need numbers, you need popularity. And
but if your being here is going to cause us to lose more than we will gain, then clearly you should find your space within the formation. Junet Mohammed doesn't have to leave ODM or the Azimio coalition for that matter. He just needs to step down, be like any other member, and support. There are a lot of Kenyans who support Azimio financially, materially, and in every way, but then they don't hold office.
And you speak from what people would say a sensical part in this particular conversation.
Which is how it
should be. But in most cases, it never is in politics. I mean, let's look at who the Suna member, Suna East Member of Parliament is to this particular party. I mean, all the way to the running of the 2022 general elections, it was the most vocal member of this particular coalition.
Yes.
Good. Right now, currently, as it is a whip in the National Assembly. So when his constituents look at him, I mean, they just don't see a man. They see a man who sort of represents them. And that's exactly what happens in Kenyan politics. That should you decide probably to say, well, we'll remove you from that particular position, just become a regular party member because of what you did in the 2022 elections, you're essentially also losing his support within that particular party. If you say Joho walk out again with Suna East Member of Parliament, you're also losing Joho and his support within that particular party. And those are Kenyan politics, or politics for politics, as we do know of it.
I like how you do your analysis, and it's great that you see there is what the party will lose should these people choose to walk out. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, why would they walk out? They are members of this party, they are members of this coalition. asking them to step down because they have not discharged their roles as diligently as we expected them to is not asking too much. Let's go back to parties belong to members. If members are not comfortable with your leadership, be it that you are taking them in the right direction or wrong direction, if members feel we do not want you here now, then it's your time to pack up and go. And they're not asking for these people to quit the party, to quit the coalition.
Yes.
I think it's time they tried out other people, and that natural process should be allowed to carry through. That's the point I'm making. And sometimes in politics, we may think it's just members doing this. It could also be engineered by those in government to undermine Azimio's sitting pretty like they've been, given the headwinds in the economy and that their popularity has been rising. But looking at things critically, we know that Junet Mohammed is no longer the person we knew then. People believed that he would deliver that election. He did not. He's been the minority whip in parliament.
Yes.
We don't see him apply himself as diligently as he used to before. So clearly, we're not getting value for him being there. So if members are asking that he's asked to step down, it's not too much to ask, if you ask me.
Pretty much. I want you to take 2 minutes because we have 5 minutes, and then I give Kennedy 2 minutes because this particular issue is not done. Once we come back now, we'll be looking at other issues that Raila Amolo Odinga is looking at. There's one Kalonzo Musyoka within that particular coalition. And it has reached that point where Kalonzo Musyoka knows very well that I do not think you will tell me anything that is not supporting me for the 2027 elections that's going to put me here. What you mean on it? His party has already spoken. They've said they're going to deliver papers to the coalition, fronting their candidate, one, Kalonzo Musyoka, as the one that they need to support. And earlier that, in fact, they said earlier that, so the journey begins early. If that coalition is going to have a chance in the 2027 elections. Is that a problem for one Raila Amolo Odinga already? 2 minutes, Asika.
First of all, I want to believe Raila has run for presidency enough times, and I don't think he will be running for presidency in 2027. So, and when you look at the whole coalition, it's only Kalonzo Musyoka who looks like he can win the election. I don't see any other person in that coalition who can win the election. And as we all know, all politics are local. If the people from the Kamba region, from that region, Machakos, Makueni, and other counties from that region want Kalonzo to be president, and they have endorsed him for that position,
yes,
it will be a better chance for this country to have a different president. But it depends of how these people are going to handle themselves, how they're going to put together this coalition. And if Odinga continues with what he is doing right now, he is going to lose big. He is going to lose big by defending those people who are bringing cracks in his party. I already told you, all politics are local. If Junet leaves ODM, actually he's the one who will lose, because in Nyanza, all people believe in Odinga. You cannot rubbish him off and say, this man, we are done with him. No, they still believe in him. Actually, some of them always say, even if he wants to vie when he's 100 years, let him vie for this position. So Junet, according to the people in Suna East, he's not a big deal to them. Actually, the only issue that comes is because they are close with Amolo. That's why he's defending him.
That's it.
Yes.
I'll be coming back to you on that, Kennedy. Just take 2 minutes, clear this before we step on a break. In fact, 1 minute, 30 seconds. Kalonzo Musyoka, in this conversation, and with the other ones we come back as well, there's also the other factor of Mother Karua, because she was just the running mate for Raila Amolo Odinga in the concluded election in 2022. Kalonzo Musyoka, is it becoming a problem now for Raila Amolo Odinga And is there a feeling within that particular coalition that, hey man, I mean, we gotta try it a bit different. We've tried with you 5 times, it's not really worked out.
Kalonzo Musyoka is a bigger problem to himself than to anyone else.
No, right now, Kennedy, right now as it is.
No, he's not.
It's right there with Raila Amolo Odinga.
He's not.
And he's saying, well, guys, 2027, it's going to be me.
He's not. And I want to agree with the Right Honorable when he says Azimio is intact. Because Azimio is as intact as Raila still believes it should be. So as long as he still believes that that project is viable, it will still be intact until the day he decides otherwise. We've heard a lot of these things from the former DP, Kalonzo. Yes. We've heard these stories. So this is not news. However, doing the same thing, the same way, expecting different results, yes, we know what that means for both of them. So it's good. It's okay for the former vice president to express himself, but at the moment, Azimio is Ward Odinga, and Ward Odinga is Azimio.
Pretty much. I want to come back with you from this break, by the way, so you can elaborate that, because there's also a mix in it. Once we come from this break, UDA is also seeing another fight in Nakuru, as it is. Tabitha and Susan are fighting. Tabitha wants Susan out immediately as it can be. UDA party is not intervened yet. But even within UDA party, Ndini Nyoro is becoming a problem. And one, right, Rigathi Gachagua and President William RUTO have told him to stop. We're going to talk about that once we come back right from this break.
Tere, mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we mse. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani wani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya, lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time, hata angalia barabara. Tumesheni dereva tusimame. Wewe dereva wewe, mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa tuende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na Njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
hapa Kaptara. Tunataka kusema asante sana RUTO Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo, wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia RUTO Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Good. Welcome back. This is the Morning Drift. We are still going on it. I want Kennedy to clear your submission because I only gave you a minute and 30 seconds before we went on that particular break. You were saying that in as long as Raila Amolo Odinga believes that Azimio is intact and he says it, then Azimio coalition is still intact. But even did Kalonzo can be a factor in any other election. And I give you the example of if he can't perform the worst he's ever performed, and we've seen it, got 950,000 votes. Those are many votes in any other election. Place him in this election, place him in the previous election, it will force a runoff. And Kalonzo looks at it and says, well, had I run in 2017, I would have been a factor. Had I run in 2022, I would have been a factor. So, if indeed Kalonzo Musyoka is going to be the Kalonzo Musyoka we saw in 2022, a man who said, I'll be completely mad to support Raila Amolo Odinga, I'll be completely stupid to support Raila Amolo Odinga, a man who almost refused to go for the interviews for who would be the running mate of Raila Amolo Odinga. If that is an example enough, and he knows that he's spoken like that, is he a problem already for Raila Amolo Odinga? I mean, in terms of splitting the choice for 2027, because it is what it is now. We're talking about 2027.
Like I mentioned before, you know, personally I believe leadership is about making decisions, making choices. Like you mentioned, you can either decide to be a factor in an there are people who just run, and there are people who go to an election to win. At the moment, Azimio is still firmly in the grip of Raila Odinga. At the moment, Raila Odinga is still the only person capable of challenging, single-handedly capable of challenging the President, His Excellency William Ruto. Kalonzo Musyoka, like I mentioned before, is a bigger problem to himself because of indecisiveness. At the end of the day in politics, it's a situation where you have to make a decision and run with it. When you tell us you'll be a madman, if you go against that word, then you have proven to us that you are a madman. It becomes very difficult for us to trust you. So in this case, he has the potential.
Yes.
I personally believe he has the potential of marshalling over 1 million votes. If he goes to the ballot, strategically positions himself in terms of a running mate. His biggest problem is himself. And that's why he won't be taken that seriously, because at the end of the day, when it goes to the wire, there will always be a way of managing him. And that's what has caused him, to the extent that even today, if he tries to threaten anyone, those threats will not be taken that seriously, because he's a man who's been managed before, and he's had opportunities of making a marker for himself. But every time those opportunities have presented themselves, he's given a pass to them.
Yes.
Politics, I believe, is a matter of a balance between perception and reality.
Yes.
You need to find a balance. When you are passed over for a semantic choice, like in the last election, that's the moment you're supposed to call yourself to a meeting and decide, I have to make this decision. If I win, I lead. If I lose, I learn.
Does it?
And from that learning, it gives you an opportunity to repackage, rebrand, so that next time you present yourself as an alternative, people see someone who is capable of being that alternative and walking all the way to the end. That's what people want. People who are capable and are ready to walk all the way to their
Just
decision.
before I give it to Mudiora as well, there's a packaging issue. I've sat here with an analyst who said there's a packaging issue with the Azimio coalition. That you have one Martha Karua was touted as the perfect fit for Raila Amolo Odinga's candidacy in 2022. She's seated right there. She doesn't know where her fate lies next, because it looks as if you don't even bring her to the fore now when you are talking about issues to do with party leadership and party direction. That all of a sudden, that particular chapter looks to be closed, that she's still domiciled within that particular coalition. Number two, you have Kalonzo Musyoka, who knows very well that I need direction within this particular party come 2027. But if you look at the other side, and we're going to go to the UDA wars just shortly, it is almost sure of this is how it's going to be in 2027. You don't need to sit down and second guess. It's going to be this man and this man. We're going to carry the mantle again in 2027. But within the Azimio coalition, there's already a packaging issue. Where do you want me to go? After you guys essentially said, I've got the power to help you run in 2022. Kalonzo Musyoka is saying, well, is it going to be this guy? What about the deals we met before? Is that what it is? Is that what Raila Amolo Odinga is not actually agreeing to, that within that particular party, the guys were looking at it and saying, maybe if we walk out, we might be formidable outside the party?
You see, for you to have that, to even make that decision, you need to have what I call a landing. You cannot, when you're in the air, all those people are in the air. Without a landing or landing rights, you will remain in the air. All these things, it's a matter of people trying to, it's a struggle for positions, for opportunities.
Yes.
It's positioning, reorganization for the next election. Because the problem we have as a country is that we are an overly political country, but we are in denial of that fact. So we realize 24/7 we consume, we live and eat politics every day. So everyone within those political spaces, their core responsibility is not actually to provide leadership that can provide opportunities for people.
Yes.
Most of these people you're seeing threatening to walk out to want this are just trying to position and present themselves in a manner that will make them relevant. Actually, it's a matter of seeking relevance, because you've talked about the deputy party leader. He's jobless now. So he no longer has a protected space where he can do whatever he wants and walk away.
Yes.
At the moment, he's a common citizen.
Yes.
Jokes around, we deal with him like a common citizen. So you have to find a space. You have to remain relevant, so that you use that relevance to try and threaten people and blackmail others.
Pretty much.
So all these are just political gymnastics that are meant to entertain and sensationalize Kenyans and keep us in that mood to 2027.
Mudiora, close this particular conversation for the ODM coalition as well. And Asiko, I want you to also prepare your closing remarks before we cross over to the other side. That it is a well-known fact that the direction for ODM is not clear yet as whether Raila Amolo Odinga is going to run again. So that's why majority of people within the party now look at themselves and say, I think if you guys support me, I can deliver that presidency. That's where the problem is right now.
Well, first and foremost, I think we should address ourselves to what matters the most, and that is, are the constituent parties in the coalition what they should be?
Yes.
ODM should first of all focus on carrying out the grassroots election so that those in office are duly elected. It's been long overdue to begin with, before they can even be talking about who is going to be the flag bearer. Number two, Raila Odinga, in that soundbite, assured Kenyans that Azimio is not disintegrating, and I want to add a rider, yet, but it will disintegrate, that's for sure. We had NAC in 2002, and then we had ODM in 2007, and then we had CORD in 2013, we had NASA in 2017. You can be sure that in 2027, Azimio will have morphed into something else.
Yes.
Why? Because we look to massage egos more than to deal with what the people want.
Yes.
So Martha Karua, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, they have a lot of influence, but when it comes to getting the vote in the box. That's what they've not been able to show that they can deliver. Martha Karua, well, for the optics, it's good to have her. But when the rubber hits the road, we know she couldn't even deliver her own polling station. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, he has following, but then given that it's not enough to help him win,
yes,
he can only look to do what he did in 2007, and that is apite katikati. He's not to be ignored, but then he has to have partners
yes,
for his candidacy to be viable. Is he a problem for Raila Odinga?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, because he's been loyal. But then in politics, you have to win. It's only in class where number 2 is good. In politics, when you're number 2, it's as good as your last. So Raila Odinga has the numbers, he has the infrastructure. He just needs to be the statesman we've come to believe he is and allow for his party organs to run the natural process. Let him not short-circuit the framework. Let him allow delegates to have their say.
Mm-hmm.
That's how people want to be governed. Let him allow for ODM to be for the members and not what my friend here has described correctly, that it's still an individual, an Odinga family kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. As I close this conversation for the Azimio coalition, the same question, but the problems is just packaging. That for an important coalition like that, and we like to call it opposition for the sake of this particular conversation, is that at least your direction should be known, that this is the man for the mantle in 2027, and this is the direction that we're going. But it's not really clear yet, even whether Raila Amolo Odinga should be running. You yourself believes that you don't think Raila Amolo Odinga is going to run in 2027.
First of all, Odinga has to accept that there are cracks in Azimio. He doesn't have to continue living a lie.
Yes.
He has to accept that first. So secondly, I can say all the principles can bring something to the table, can bring some votes, but not all of them. Some of them cannot even marshal over 100,000 votes. For example, Martha Karua, she's good, she's a woman like me, I support women, but sometimes when we come to political reality, we don't like just relying on the optics alone. Sometimes we have to accept that when you want to win an election, the numbers are the one that counts, and she cannot bring numbers to the table of Azimio. So if indeed she will have had numbers, or she will have brought more numbers to Azimio, maybe Azimio will have won the election, because the number of votes she brought, they were very, very minimal. So these cracks, first of all, they need to be addressed. These people need to come together and agree. This is the person that will be fronting for 2027. If they don't agree, that is a chance that the other political divide will use to mudsling them and tell them that they are not in a position to even manage themselves. How will they manage Kenyans? And this is something that has been a shortcoming for Odinga all the time. There's always that, he is not able to manage all the people that always come together. There's always an issue arising immediately after maybe 6 months after an election, or even 1 year. So first of all, the political feuds are normal for any political divide, and we agree that.
Yes.
But secondly, they need to come together and agree this is the person who will be fronting for 2027. And let us not, we agree Odinga is good, and all Kenyans agree he's good. But you cannot be running all the time, losing an election, then you want to claim that you will run this time and win the election. Let him change the game. If indeed he wants something different, let him support another person the way he supported Kibaki in 2002, and he will still win this election through another person. He can be a kingmaker. He doesn't have to be the king all the time.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will beg that we go into the next part of our discussion this morning then. It doesn't appear that it's only ODM that has got these cracks now. UDA is building cracks. Munira, I want you to pay close attention to that UDA party constitution that gives leeway to have 2 deputy party leaders. It's not like in ODM, or we do know, is Joho's the deputy party leader and done and dusted. UDA provides for 2.
Yeah.
And that, the people sitting somewhere reading fault play in it, and that's the Mount Kenya region. Let's take a look at this particular submission from one Rigathi Gachagua, talking to one Didi Nyoro, a man who last week 15 members of parliament came out of nowhere within that particular party and said, you see, our rightful candidate for running mate in 2027 is one Didi Nyoro. Let's take a look at that.
Tunataka kusema katika hii region yetu ya Mount Kenya, we don't want anybody kujaribu kugawanya watu wetu along county lines. Hata hii ni watu ya Murang'a, hii ni watu ya Nyeri, hii ni watu ya Kiambu. That is retrogressive politics which we don't want in this area.
Mimi nataka niwaulize jameni, all leaders, I want to ask all leaders, it will be an insult to the people of Kenya that instead of concentrating on delivering on the assignment given to us by the people of Kenya, we have a very well cut out assignment on matters transformation of Kenya, how to create jobs, how to expand our food production, how to ensure that every citizen has access to universal health. Let me ask all leaders that we focus our attention on the delivery of the assignment that was given to us by the people of Kenya, especially leaders in Kenya Kwanza, leaders in UDA. I want to ask them to step down any contestations for whatever positions, present or future, so that we can work together, focus on delivering to the people of Kenya, ensure that we keep our promise to the people of Kenya.
That's quite clear. Kennedy, open the conversation then. 15 members of parliament come from nowhere and hold a presser. And they say, well, our candidate for 2027 is Didi Nyoro, and we're going to support. Rigathi Gachagua, last year, and I want to give you a proper background to this particular story, is a man who said, I'm not interested in the politics of who the leader for Mount Kenya is. He said, I'm just here to support the agenda for one president, Dr. William RUTO. All that nonsense about who's the kingpin for Mount Kenya region, I'm not really interested. But they say he changed his statement. They say, hey, listen, look here, tell Didi Nyoro to shut up. I am the leader for Mount Kenya, so you shut up. And if you call the young boy, should shut up so that we lead this country. Yesterday, there was a statement from one President, Dr. William RUTO, who said, you know, we thought mentoring these young leaders within UDA was a good plan, but if they continue with their nonsense, we'll be forced to change the plan. Now, let me give you background. December was supposed to have UDA grassroots elections. They didn't happen. They were postponed all the way to April this year. Again, towards that election, we've got governors within Mount Kenya region who, out of nowhere, hold a press statement, and nobody's fighting DP Rigathi Gachagua. They hold a statement to come and defend DP Rigathi Gachagua. When you ask them, who's this fighting DP Rigathi Gachagua, they can't tell you, but they tell you, we are already reading fault play in that particular party constitution. Kennedy, if we're going to talk about cracks within a collusion, are these the ones? Or that statement from one President, Dr. William RUTO, has killed any crack that would have existed within that particular issue?
I think the first thing I want to tell you is that in politics, nothing happens out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. There are no coincidences in politics. Mm-hmm. Everything that you see here in politics is intentional. 2, I agree with the President. We seriously need to focus on tackling the issues affecting Kenyans. 3, like we've mentioned about Azimio, in any big house, there will always be contestations among siblings. And there's nothing wrong with having an ambitious last-born or younger sibling. That's basically what's supposed to happen. A coalition is supposed to be a family. In politics, it's supposed to be a family of ideas, where these people are bound by ideas. ideas are built around structures. Those structures are the ones that ensure smooth transition.
Yes.
The challenge we have in Kenya, and I've been in that space for some time, is that there's a little bit of either an absence of a breakdown of structures. That's now what brings these contestations, because life abounds vacuums. There should never be a vacuum, because the moment there's a vacuum in your life, in any aspect of your life, there will always be something that will come to fill it. In life, you must ensure that you choose what fills those vacuums, those spaces. So in politics, when you realize that we do not have a structured, a firm, ideological, structured way of doing things, there are vacuums that are created. And those vacuums will be filled by anyone who spots them. When you see what is happening in the mountain has always approached politics economically, all through. At the moment, a new dawn hit the mountain. For the first time in a very long time, the mountain put itself at contestation. And those contestations will continue. Personally, from where I come from, there's nothing wrong with someone having an aspiration. How you approach that aspiration or how you realize it is what makes the difference. When some people, for example, politics is dynamic and very fluid.
Yes.
Nothing is static. Today I'll say something. Circumstances will dictate what I'll say tomorrow. Is it a good thing? I don't know. It's up to Kenyans to judge. But that is the politics that we've bequeathed ourselves. So basically what is happening is a contestation of aspirations. And it's also part of testing the waters to see what can come out of it. Throwing a stone in the forest to see what it will hit. It can hit a squirrel or even hit a mongoose. So when you go to pick it, you must be very careful. So basically, it's just a case of a coalition of different people with different interests and aspirations. So at any given time, you'll realize that everyone within that system, as long as their ambitions are alive, they will always come up to try and express that desire, to try and announce themselves to the people of their desire to become. Announcing yourself to the people of your desire to become doesn't necessarily mean you will become or you even want to become.
Good place to end it.
Yeah.
That announcing yourself to the people you desire doesn't essentially mean that you want to become or you will become. Didi Nyoro, does he want it? Does he want it? I mean, Kennedy is saying, well, announcing is not bad. you desire, essentially. You don't have to become, or probably you don't even want to become. But when you look at Didi Nyoro, does he want it?
Well, he does. That's for sure. And I would be disappointed if he didn't. Every man has got to have ambition.
Is it right that he wants it from DP Rigathi Gachagua? Is it right that he wants it from him?
There's nothing wrong about that.
Would it be okay for the party leader to sit and say, wow, let it play out? He said it before last year.
Yes.
Even said, even me, I'm not so sure. He actually said it towards the December grassroots elections, where he had a lot of jitters within the party. He actually addressed guys in Nakuru and said, well, you see, even me here today, talking to you as the party leader, I might go to those elections and I realize that I don't have a chance. So whatever may becomes, but it's changed the tune. And I mean, when you read what he said, that I thought mentoring these young people within the party would have been a good thing. But if they continue the way they're continuing, then we'll have to change the plan. So
that's where there's a problem now.
He's actually saying, hey guys, what are you doing?
He's going back on his words. So that's unacceptable. He should allow this to play out. Let all aspirations be accommodated.
Yes.
Democracy is about people expressing themselves, and we must give them the opportunity to do so.
You know what the problem is? Even as you speak about that, Mudhiora, I'll tell you what it is. Leaders, and specifically governors from Mount Kenya region, who've come out to defend DP Rigathi Gachagua, are saying, change that constitution, the party constitution, that we have to vote to change that party constitution, which would only give us the national structure, where you have one deputy party leader within that particular party, that as it currently stands, they feel, regardless of what the president is saying, the president is like, hey, you got to stop that. They leave on the people of Kenya. When we have party elections, we'll talk about issues with party elections. When we have party agenda, we'll talk about party agenda. But for now, they leave on the people of Kenya. But they're saying, regardless of what he says, it's like we, the people within this party, are giving him free way to decide on who to pick if you're going to give him 2 deputy party leaders. He might say, I gave it to you the other time. Now democracy within the party and within a country denotes that there's another guy here who also deserves a chance to run it. And that's why those leaders have read fault play in it. They're saying, we don't want it. So that's why they're coming to defend a man they feel is under siege, one DP, Rigathi Gachagua.
He's under siege, that's for sure. I want you to play this out. There is the party leader of the ANC formation who stepped down when he was opted into cabinet. Suppose he chooses to decamp to ANC, and during the elections, the grassroots elections, he fronts himself to be party leader of UDA. How do you think that will affect the Mount Kenya setup? That's what the governors are trying to forestall, because for sure, William RUTO is a master politician. He learned from the best. And these young politicians have also learned from him. When he realized that he didn't have Uhuru Kenyatta's blessings in Jubilee, he learned to fly without patching. And that's what these leaders have learned from him. They are looking into the future, and they're realizing that there may not be enough space for us as we had hoped there would be. So that constitution was deliberately written in that way so that when President William RUTO needs to pull a surprise, he's allowed to do that. I'll take you back to when President Moi, former President Moi in Kasarani, when he wanted Uhuru Kenyatta to be the party's flag bearer, he created 4 vice chairmen.
I do remember that. There was a scenario.
Yes. Because he wanted for the nation to be ready for one of those 4. So when President RUTO doesn't want Rigathi Gachagua to be his running mate, he's going to bring someone else in through that
provision within the party constitution.
Yes,
to make it look politically correct.
Exactly. You'll get used to that person, and then he'll have options. He'll not be pinned to a corner. You've had this narrative that you cannot rent, as in you cannot buy someone from Mount Kenya. You can only rent them for some time. So when the mountain shifts, William RUTO made sure that he has a way out to make sure that whatever he would lose in that region, he would gain elsewhere. Now, we know that the people from Mount Kenya did not vote for the Kenya Kwanza coalition because they had Rigathi Gachagua on that ticket. They were voting for William RUTO, not necessarily that they had one of their own within that formation at the top. And them realizing that that's the case, they now want to have someone that's popular within the region so that they're still at the table and not at someone else's mercy. So they have a right to do so. Politics is about interests. Clearly right now they have Rigathi Gachagua who is representing those interests, but then it's not because they give him that mandate. They were voting for William RUTO, but they would like in future to have someone that they actually can relate with because they feel that should be their kingpin.
Pretty much. Asiko, that's what I want to pick it from, because Mudera is essentially bringing it back home where that particular split now begins then. Because Ndidi Nyoro comes from the mountain as well. Rigathi Gachagua comes from the mountain as well. I mean, if you are a leader who wants to say, I didn't make that choice for you, I mean, the party made that choice, it's very easy now to pick either and present a situation where if you want to give them somebody from the mountain that they can support, there they are. I mean, you have Ndini Nyoro. And if it is Rigathi Gachagua, you have Rigathi Gachagua. This provision of 2 deputy party leaders, is that where the problem is? Is that why we didn't even see those elections back in December? Because they almost happened until somebody went on the ground and said, hey, you try them. It's going to be fire. Because people essentially read into it. And is he making a mistake of saying, let's not talk about that? Because then it's just 2 months to April now. If they go in and try to hold those elections with this particular situation that is going on the ground, is it not going to play out during those elections? Ndini Nyoro has not spoken. But it's so peculiar to see 15 members of parliament within a party come in and say, well, this is what we want. Somebody somewhere is working to make sure that that constitution is not changed. And somebody somewhere is working very hard to make sure that it is DP Rigathi Gachagua. So my question comes like this. Is that RUTO saying in 2027 it's going to be DP Rigathi Gachagua and a RUTO ticket?
First of all, I want to say this. These are supremacy battles from the mountain among the politicians.
Yes.
Regardless of that, William Samoei Ruto is a political schemer. He's the best and he learned from the best. So whatever Gachagua is doing right now is doing what Robert Greene says, not trying to outshine the master. That's why he's trying to lie low and saying, I'm not going to politic, I'm just going to help the president on service delivery. That is what Gachagua is trying to do right now.
Why can he not outshine Ndini Nyoro?
No, he doesn't want to outshine, he doesn't want to look like, if given a chance, he will still want to be the president of Kenya in 2032.
Yes.
But whatever he's trying to do right now is just to look like he doesn't want to outshine his master, who's the president right now. So Ndini Nyoro in this case, Ndini Nyoro, first of all, he's the chairman of the budget and the appropriation committee in parliament. And this young man who's 38 years, he's a man, actually to me, he's a man that I admire, a young man, and he has delivered on his mandate as a member of parliament. And his political grooming is also top-notch compared to Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua, I don't like speaking ill of politicians, but he needs to groom himself on how his sentiments come out of his mouth, because words can either build or destroy.
Yes.
So the Mount Kenya politicians fronting Ndini Nyoro, to me is a good thing, because when you look at most of the world's biggest revolutionaries, they were done by the youth. When you look at like Martin Luther King Jr. and other young people across the world that brought revolution, as they were young. So if Ndini Nyoro will be the change maker for Mount Kenya, well and good, because to me, he has delivered on his mandate. And in fact, he will bring a youthful face to the country, and most young people will be happy for him.
Yes. Here's the thing, Aseko, just take a minute on it before I cross over to Kennedy, and Mudiora, I want you to weigh in on this as well. That if you look at the 2022 election, something very important that Mudiora said, that a proper analysis of that vote pattern did not essentially give Rigathi Gachagua the mantle, that Rigathi Gachagua is why the central part of the country voted like that, or the Mount Kenya region voted like that. There, I think they just voted for William Ruto. That you can't say that the DP Rigathi Gachagua helped deliver that vote. That for DP Rigathi Gachagua to be the kingpin of the Mount Kenya region, he has to deliver on his farmer's mandate. That if indeed within this couple of years that he was given that responsibility to go in and deliver on macadamia nuts issues, on the coffee issues, on the tea issues in that particular region, then he might actually stand up to be the kingpin for that particular region. And in some way, Ndini Nyoro and his advisors have read and said, guys, it's not because of him that we won. So if indeed you want to be the mantle for that particular region, you can, and you have that chance. Is that what Ndini Nyoro is seeing? that you can't really go in and tell the people of Mount Kenya that your kingpin is DP Rigathi Gachagua. Sat here with an analyst who said that you can't announce yourself as a kingpin. The people have to see you so.
Yeah. Yes.
And currently as it is, they're not saying DP Rigathi Gachagua as one.
Yes, they are not seeing him as the kingpin. Because what Mudora, according to what Mudora said, and I support those sentiments, yes, is that the Mount Kenya region did not vote because one of them was at the top. They voted because they voted for William Ruto, and most of the MPs who are very popular on the ground, yes, they were in UDA and they were supporting the president. Yes. So whatever decision comes from the members of parliament, it is a decision that is coming from the public. It is not coming from seated in closed doors. Yes. It's coming from the people, and if the people endorse you, power always belongs to the people. If the people of Mount Kenya will endorse Ndindi Nyoro, then why not? I will equally support him. Actually, he'll be encouraging some of us.
Yes.
Yes.
Kennedy, on that particular issue, is it wrong for DP Rigathi Gachagua to come in and say, I'm the leader for Mount Kenya, so Ndindi Nyoro should shut up?
UDA as a party and Kenya Kwanza as a coalition, as a structure, and it was the aspiration of the president, yes, to have a national party that has structures that can withstand the sensationalism of tribal conglomerates that we've been accustomed to.
Yes.
To some extent, he was able to achieve that. And I'm glad to hear that the Mountain did not vote for Dr. William Ruto because of one of their own. I am happy to hear when people say, like they have said, that the people of the Mountain were able to vote for someone from another region out of their own conscience and decision. That's where we want to head to as a people. DP Rigathi is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. He's not just the leader of the Mountain, he's the leader of the nation. As for him announcing to himself, he doesn't even need to. He already has the position. He has a duty as a leader, both constitutionally and politically, to engage with the people and other leaders in a manner that ensures the delivery of the Kenya Kwanza plan.
Yes.
Which he's been trying. Of course, there are challenges here and there, but he's trying to make an effort. You mentioned about coffee. He's been steadfast in trying to institute measures that will deliver value for the farmer.
Yes.
Personally, we are at a point where, like I mentioned, there will always be these challenges. Politics is a high-stakes game, especially for the Mountain. Actually, personally, I usually believe the Mountain is one of the places that has always been kind of ideological in terms of their politicking. Where I come from, most of the politics is emotional. Kiongozi kusifiwa kwa matanga, you want to look big. That's why most of them have not gained much from. But the Mountain has always been organized.
Kennedy, is it okay for you to declare where you come from? Then your leaders can actually be told, stop being much.
No, I'm speaking because I was once on the ballot. So. People's choices of leaders on most occasions will tell you the perception of people towards leadership. If people are electing the best dancer in funerals, then you understand their desires as far as leadership is concerned. If people don't elect people who have ideas, economic development ideas, since people are not interested in economic development, they are interested in people who will come and entertain them with jokes and all that stuff, and they go home. So what I have always appreciated about them, and that's part of what is informing the conversation. These are people who have always been focused on electing people. And I like when they come out and say, we want someone who is going to protect our interests. Those interests are economical. Most of them, we know it's a largely economic community. So they need people, they need leaders, whether national or at the local level, who are going to champion for a system that is going to ensure that they are able to do their business smoothly. They are able to invest in value addition for their farm products.
Yes.
They are able to get maximum value. That is part of the conversation that the DP has been leading. in leading that conversation, he has presented himself as the person with an aspiration of being the champion and the kingpin. The kingpin, not in terms of, because he already has a position. A position he can still retain. The dynamics might change, but I believe as the deputy president and the party and the deputy party leader, as of this moment, announced or not, he's still the person in the front seat of becoming the next running mate.
Yes.
So that's not, as a person, that's not even a conversation we should be having. We should be having a conversation around what he's doing in endearing himself as the kingpin. And I personally believe he's been trying to lead, to champion against illicit brews, which I believe have been very detrimental to the economic development of the mountain. He's been championing for coffee and tea reforms. You've mentioned other things. So basically for me, if that is what touches on the heart of the mountain people, then that's what someone who aspires to be the kingpin of the mountain people needs to do. Like I've mentioned, there are people, there are situations, there are places where you want an activist. So if your interest is in human rights, even on an angry stomach, that's what you'll go for. But if your interest is in money in the pocket, that's what you'll go for.
Yes.
And in your pursuance of leadership, you will pursue people who are either championing for that or in the normal practice of their private and public life, they practice things that are in line with your aspirations as a community.
That's it. There are, just take a minute or so. I want us to look at another brew that is already simmering in Nakuru. Shida, you can you prepare that second story that we did on War Memorial Hospital? Because Keroche Tabitha is calling for the impeachment of Susan Kihika. In fact, it's not just that. She goes deeper to say, we're not in line. But just before we get there, we're going to use that as a closing sentiments of this particular show.
Yeah.
Should the constitution be changed? Because indeed, the president can read cracks within the UDA party. It's not simple that 15 of them can come in and support Ndidi Nyoro. That's not something that you can ignore. I mean, when governors speak, and not just one, two, many of them speak in defense of Ndidi Nyoro, in defense of DP Rigathi Gachagua, and you have another side that is speaking for Ndidi Nyoro, then you do know very well that that's not something that you want to walk into. Or is the president looking at that voter, those voter lines from the mountain and saying, I mean, they didn't vote for either of this. So if none of them gets it, I've got still nothing to lose from that particular region. Is that what he's looking at and saying, well, let it go wrong?
For very critical roles, control is never shared. That's why you look at the constitution and you realize that there's only one party leader.
Does it?
To have two means that that role is not as critical as the top one. So clearly someone sat down and thought we might need to use these to our benefit. But I'll get back to that. If you have to remind people about who you are, then know that you're inviting them to question your credentials.
Or are you running away from saying that probably you are not?
Well, I didn't say that.
Somebody sat where you're sitting and said, do you think Raila Amolo Odinga at any one point is going to come in and say, you know me, I am the kingpin for this region? Is he ever going to say that?
Well, let's actually go back to the Bible.
Yes.
And there was this time when Jesus Christ was having a debate.
That's it.
And people were asking about who he is. And he asked his disciples, what do the people out there say that I am?
Yes.
So when our deputy president tells us who he is,
we should go ask people.
No, someone should tell him that he's inviting us to question his credentials.
That's the analogy, isn't it?
Yes. So for Ndidi Nyoro to want to step into a space that has been created for him by Rigathi Gachagua,
yes,
that says he should go for it.
Yes.
And this is why I've told you 2027 is in the mix. The mountain feels that Rigathi Gachagwa's credentials may not qualify him to be President William Ruto's running mate. And he may opt to go for someone from another region. So if we go into this grassroots election, this position that has hitherto remained vacant will be filled. And it will not be filled by someone from the mountain. And that will be a grooming space for someone that could be President William Ruto's running mate in 2027. So if they do not give the position of the deputy party leader to someone that's popular within the region and able to reach out across the country, then they stand the risk of not having one of their own on the presidential ballot come 2027. That's what's at play.
That's it. But that's one. Take a minute on this, because he ends it on a very important point, that they might not. I mean, that particular region, since this country gained independence and we started voting, they've always had a forerunner in every particular election as they call, save for the 2022 elections. And you know what happened? The worst voter apathy we've ever seen from that particular region. In fact, for the opposition to get 17%, somebody said they won in that particular region, going by the numbers that we've seen before. I mean, if you go back to 2013, you will see what the numbers were and the percentages that were accrued from that particular region. I mean, if you want numbers from a highly populated region like that one, sense dictates that you give them an incentive, give them their own. At least they can vote for that person. Do you think William Ruto will sit somewhere and say, they don't need neither Ndindi Nyoro nor Rigathi Gachagua? Let's give them somebody. Let's give them Musalia Mudavadi for 2027. What would you think of it? Do you think they might reflect the same numbers that we've seen this time around in the 2020 election? 2 minutes.
I can say Musalia Mudavadi is good. He's ever been the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. And as per now, he holds 2 offices actually. He's the Prime Cabinet Secretary and he's also the Secretary in charge of Foreign Affairs. So to me, first of all, I want to say Mount Kenya, they're looking at succession politics for 2032. They're asking themselves, who's going to succeed President William Ruto? And when you look at Mount Kenya, the probable kingpins are, first of all, we have like 4. We are looking at the Yala MP, Kanini Kega. We are looking at the Bahati MP, Kimani Ichung'wah. We are looking at the Kiharu MP, Ndindi Nyoro. And then we have now the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
In no particular order?
Yes, the 4 of them. But now Mount Kenya are looking at these 4 people, and to them, they feel like Ndindi Nyoro is the one who's fit for that position because of his developmental record. Because when you look at his constituency, there's good infrastructural development. All the schools there, Ndindi Nyoro has supported them in a very critical way. Some of the students are not even paying school fees for secondary schools, and most schools have been constructed to fit the standard of a good school in Kenya. So they feel this guy, if he can deliver in his constituency, we have no other option as the mountain. This is the person we will be fronting. But you see, there's also Musalia Mudavadi, and we will say Musalia Mudavadi is also a good person, and I'm from Western Kenya, and I can say people from Western Kenya look at him as a man who was supposed to serve Western Kenya. So if he ascends to that position and he becomes the deputy president, this will be good for the region, because now they will also have time to rethink of their presidency in 2032. So these are just succession politics, and people are actually, they're just positioning themselves just in case, let me tell you, in politics, there's nothing like a vacant position. If if people just see you're playing, or you're just joking with whatever position you have, they will want to replace you, and it happens, you will be replaced.
That's it.
Yes.
I would like us to move into the next part, which is essentially what we're going to clear it, and I will give you each of you a minute to weigh in on exactly what's going on in Nakuru. We do know there were reports that people were sent to one hospital, particularly called the War Memorial Hospital, and even disconnected dialysis machines for patients that were ongoing with the treatment. And this apparently is now coming out from one, Tabitha Karanja or Keroche, who's saying, they were sent by the governor to do that in that particular hospital. And then she goes on to say, and if Sheila, you can actually play for us that clip right now, just a bit of it, so we can see exactly what's going on in that particular county as it is, because the two women leaders in that particular county are fighting. Tabitha Karanja is saying, please impeach her as of now. Let's take a look once we come back, clear our conversation on it.
Governor now is the work of the MCAs. Yes, because the MCAs were elected by the people to ensure they're in the first line of the oversight. And actually the senator comes number 2. They are the first line of the oversight. So they are the ones now we should look at those allegations, those conducts, and ensure that now they do that impeachment or whatever motion. And I'm sure the Nakuru people will support. You can imagine how much we've suffered for 1 year. What about now the rest of the 4 years remaining? I think Nakuru will be gone by then. So we need now to act and ensure that things go the right way. So the MCAs will do their part and ensure that the governor does her work the way it's supposed to be done. Instead of the governor implementing any serious plans she may have for the War Memorial facility, if there is any genuineness and seriousness for work, she goes on to close War Memorial Hospital, the only hospital which means international standards, equivalent to the Nairobi Hospital and the Arakan Hospital.
It was a long presser, with your right. It was a long presser, to the point where she said she didn't listen to me. Try to help her with oversighting responsibilities as a senator. She doesn't listen. She's never listened to me. And if you hear that particular one, they say we've suffered for the past 1 year.
Yeah.
And she's saying that if this continues, Nakuru County will be no more. She's now saying, please, MCAs, pick your oversight role, use this as one of those examples, and then we'll support you to essentially uphold that impeachment motion when it comes to the Senate.
As she stated, it has only been 1 year. I would like to know what else she has tried before to reach to the governor that has failed, because impeachment really has to be the last option. Let's begin there. It's true there has been feuding about the ownership of that hospital. I even think there is a court case right now.
Does it?
So there's a lot that meets than what we are able to see. But clearly we have a problem in our counties where the governors feel like they're mini gods or mini presidents,
yes,
and that their word is law, and
yes,
they do not consult. They cannot be advised. What they say goes. That's something that we've experienced since we promulgated this constitution and started its implementation in 2013.
Yes.
We have a senator for every county. We have a county assembly. Governors need to work in conjunction with those leaders because they are not in those offices to govern by themselves. So it's a good thing that Tabitha is expressing herself, but then she needs to go beyond trying to just impeach the governor. There is more that can be done than trying to get whoever is in office out.
Aseko, I want to give you a minute on that as well. She's called out. Guys, take her out. Like, this is considered as the last straw. That, well, it's been a year of misgivings in this particular county, but now this one, please take her out.
First of all, I want to say Tabitha is just doing her job. She's putting the governor in check, and that is the work of senators.
Yes.
So first of all, she's doing her job, but she's overdoing the job by trying to say that she should, the governor should be impeached. That should be the last thing that that county should think of, because when you impeach the governor, it now states that at the end of the day, they'll have to get another governor, either the deputy governor or they go again to the ballot. And to me, I feel Tabitha has her own interests apart from that hospital. Because if the hospital has issues, and actually it was closed down, right? So if it was closed down and there are issues and the governor is trying to sort out that, it should not be the only issue. You should come up and start saying, oh, we should impeach this governor. Give the governor time to deliver. And you know, there have been an issue with funds going to the county governments. So you can't just start blaming governors, because there is an issue of allocation of funds to the, okay, there is money, yes, in the central government, but it takes time before it reaches the county government, yes. So Tabitha should give her fellow woman time. They're all women. One is senator, the other one is governor. Let them work together. If there's an issue, let them address the issue as women, not fighting, because when they are going to fight, they are actually inviting now men to start laughing at us as women, that we cannot work together and we are not able to run offices. So they should work together, coexist, cohabit, and know that leadership is tolerance.
Kennedy, that the role of a senator, I mean, they're also tasked with the responsibility of impeaching governors in this country. But then there's a special case here where the senator is asking MCAs to come up with an impeachment motion so they can go back to her in the office at the Senate House so that she could help get her out of office. Is that a peculiar circumstance, Kennedy? Clear. 1 minute. After speaker won't speak, we'll be stepping out.
That's a very clueless senator who doesn't know her job. Her job is not to instruct. There's nowhere in her job description where she's supposed to instruct anyone else to impeach the governor.
Specifically,
as a senator,
MCAs.
If you understand your job, your job is to oversight. And I want to caution my friends, they were talking about working together. Kenyans have misconceived working together as leaders as sitting on the table. We must agree. Leadership constitutionally is not about leaders agreeing. Leadership is about everyone reading the constitution, understanding their role and executing it. I would have expected, on the side of the senator, I fault her because I would have expected, as a senator, you understand your mandate. You don't even need the MCS to impeach her. If she has committed an offense constitutionally, you can, as a citizen or as a senator with privileged access to information that will prove malpractice, you can take her to court, direct. When you take her to court, the moment she's found guilty, she will no longer hold that office. That's one. For the governor, on the issue of the memorial, it's your responsibility as a leader to either add value to the existing value systems or create new value. I personally don't believe that it's right to pull down a structure that has been put up unless there's a more critical and urgent infrastructure that is supposed to be developed there. If a hospital has been built on public land, the hospital is working, it's serving Kenyans, it's employing people, why would you close it? It just means there's a lack of leadership, and it means the personal interests there are overriding the public ones. Because this facility is serving the public. If it's serving the public, why can't we as leaders continue to allow Kenyans to continue being served as we either regularize whatever was irregular? Because if it was built, personally, if I was a leader, if I was the president or the governor, if someone grabbed public land and built a hotel there, we will recover it plus everything at your own cost. It will become public property and we will choose whatever, because it's public land. You acquired it illegally. Instead of pulling down, closing a hospital or pulling down a building that can even be used as a school or a technology center. You see, you pull, a building has been put up, you pull it down, and now you have to construct a new one. You see that kind of disconnect? It simply means we have leaders who don't understand their responsibility. We have leaders who are so stuck in the political imaginations to the extent that they don't know how to transition from political leadership to administrative delivery of the mandate. Because as a people, as a political leader, yes, you are elected politically, but you are supposed to serve the people administratively, where we have structures, where we don't need to sit on the table for us to construct a road, where if you have a problem, there are structures that we follow, and you don't need to be reminded. The moment you're either reminding people to do something for you to do your part, or you're being reminded to do your job, then it simply means, like he said,
yes,
you are bringing your qualifications into disrepute.
That's it. Guess what? That one is already building up. So I want to see whether there's going to be an impeachment motion then that is going to come from the Nakuru County government against us, Governor Susan Kihika, and we shall be here. What we're looking forward to, by the way, and I'll be calling them so we can weigh in on this. The courts are going to make a ruling on the housing levy tomorrow. That's on the 26th. One of the key pillars of one President, Dr. William RUTO. We shall be live across all our social media platforms. And by the way, them as well, take them back to the time that you join us right here on the Morning Drift at Lookuptv across all their social media platforms. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga Mudiora. Thank you very much for coming by, man. Yeah? 5 seconds. Yes.
In 2018, we came together, people who are concerned about how this nation was being run, and we realized that we were on a downward trend, and that wasn't going to stop. We asked that the government then steps down. Back then, the shilling was trading in the range of 100 shillings. Today, it's trading at 170. That is about a 70% devaluation in our currency. That has added to the burden of the cost of living. If we do not consider impeachment, like the senator is saying, for the governor, but in our case, for this government, this country is going down.
Guess what? We ended there, by the way. How much are you buying the dollar for? Yesterday, they bought it at 170. So they might be 171, 172, or it's going to be at the end of the year. Big question. We're going to table that conversation next week as well. Goodbye and see you